Hello. Okay, today I'm going to convert fantasy readers into historical fiction readers. Now, please bear with me. I am an avid fantasy reader, but I'm also a genre hopper. So I get really sucked into a genre for a long time and I read so many books in there, and then you feel that feeling, you get into a book slump, and so every time I get into a book slump with a genre, I go ahead and move on to a different genre. I just made it through a huge fantasy genre stint, so I'm actually now moving into romance. I can get into that later. But I'm so in love with historical fiction, and it's kind of like my go-to whenever I am just in such a huge book slump. I always want to come back to historical fiction, and it's kind of a good in-between, jumping in between different genres, just because it is cozy. Sometimes I really want to cry. Gives me a good cry. And I also just love the story element and going back into something historical. Like, I never cared about history before, and then I read my first historical fiction. I was like, wait, this is so interesting. So I'm gonna convince fantasy readers to read historical fiction, starting first of all with the Cruel Prince series, Folk of the Air. If you like this series, I'm gonna convince you to read this historical fiction book, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. The reason I think if you like the Cruel Prince series, you'll like The Nightingale is because, one, scheming, strong female leads, sisters, and screwing over men. The Nightingale takes place in a war-torn France and tells the story of two different sisters embarking on their own really dangerous, adventurous journeys through the war, and their part in being a part of that war. So some serious Taryn and Jude vibes, because these are two sisters that are so different in so many ways. There's an adventurous sister, and then there's a sister that really just wants a peaceful life. So similar to The Nightingale. I also want to add that The Nightingale is probably my favorite book of all time. I would have to say definitely a 5 stars, and I would have rated The Cruel Prince, for me personally, a 3 to 4 star. So do with that what you will. Cruel Prince fans, please make sure to also go watch my video. I did a full retelling recap video over the Cruel Prince series when I read it. So please go watch that. And if you are a Cruel Prince fan, please tell me if you have read The Nightingale, what you thought of it, and or if you're gonna give it a try. I would love to hear some feedback on you guys genre hopping. Okay, fantasy friends, this is my absolute favorite fantasy read of all time. So I want you, if you love this book, I'm gonna turn you on to something good. If you like Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, I need you to try Queen of Thieves. I have to read you the blurb because it's so good. It says, an electrifying historical adventure about a ring of bold and resourceful female thieves in a post-World War II London. And I just know Selena Sardathian would be all up in that. She is our Queen of Thieves. I also love the idea of, gangs in London in 1946 were a huge thing, and these women just come up in here and screw everything up for them. They're better at it. They said, if I'm gonna be bad, I'm gonna be really bad. So this book is about Alice Diamond. She runs her team of thieves in London, 1946. London is recovering from the Blitz attacks from the war. So Alice is a homegirl, and she is Alice Diamond. She wears her diamond rings on her hands like brass knuckles. She's really violent, and her crew are the best shoplifters in London, and they go to different boutique stores and they steal. Soon Alice brings in this new teenager who is pregnant, and her name is Nell, and is basically training her in this world. Nell gets really entrapped into it and is just enamored by the glamour of the world of stealing. I love the bottom of this blurb just says, will Nell carve out her own path, or will she crown herself Queen of Thieves? So, power struggle. Between these two, we know I love a good scheme. Schemes, powerful women, stealing, violence. It has everything. So these two could literally be sisters. Queen of Thieves. Tell me if you read it. Okay, last, if I may be so bold, From Blood and Ash. This is a whole separate conversation. I literally need to do a video just on this book because it took me by surprise, not in a good way. This year, I actually moved on from my historical fiction into fantasy using this book, and it was a rocky start for me. I love the storyline of From Blood and Ash, but I did not finish the series, so we can have that conversation later. If you are seriously into this series though, I do not blame you. It has such a good storyline and I'm here for it, and I think I will go back and finish it this year. It was just so long and then was surprisingly getting kind of weird. Can get into that yet again another time. But if you like the From Blood and Ash series, I'm gonna turn you on to something good. The Lies That Bind. Oh, I need to take that sticker off. I can't get it off yet because it's gonna like rip off weird. We know I hate a sticker on a book, but The Lies That Bind, Emily Giffin. I have my little stamp inside. Also, someone borrowed my book. I said, please return to Tika, my mom. This book takes place in New York and is during the time of 9/11. Our main girl, Cicely, is sitting at a dive bar in upstate New York, and she is really questioning her life decisions on her career path. She's a reporter, and then she meets this man. And this is like one of those, I don't want to say love at first sight, but definitely like chemistry spark at first meeting. And this man that she meets, Grant, so she's going to text her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, and he just looks over and he's like, don't do it. You'll regret it. And so then they end up spending the night like just getting to know each other and talking and just have such a strong connection. The timing just seemed kind of off for them. He tells her that he's actually about to travel overseas for his job. And so it's just kind of heartbreaking because you're like, wow, I spend all this time looking for my person. I finally meet him and he's going across the seas. Heartbreaking. And then the next day 9/11 happens and Grant is nowhere to be found. He's lost in the chaos. Grant actually worked in the Trade Center. And so whenever all the chaos happens, she's a reporter. And so she is going to try to investigate and find out where he went. And she ends up finding a missing poster with his face on it and realizes that she's not the only one who is looking for him. It is insane. I never would have thought like a 9/11 historical fiction could be so gripping, but thinking about that time when everyone was looking for their loved ones, like how crazy it would be to meet someone, like basically fall in love with them in the night, and then the next day like 9/11 and you're just stuck thinking like what could have been. But this girl, she's a reporter, so she's gonna get on it and she's gonna find him. So that's her new mission. She's like, I'm gonna put my skills to the test and figure out what's going on with this man. The reason I link these two together is because the female leads are both just so similar in how they think. They're go-getters, they're career-driven, which like career is like, I say that loosely for From Blood and Ash. But they both want to uncover the secrets that are going on around them. Not to mention devastating romance. And I'm clear this is a stretch, but I just do feel like if you love this series, you really are attached to like, you want the storyline to be moving, but you love the details. And so that's why I've got to turn you on to this. Okay, and I want to hear from my fantasy reader friends who do like historical fiction books. What books are you recommending? What are your favorite historical fiction books? And if you are a fantasy reader, if you are open to trying a new genre, drop a comment below what you think, and make sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, whatever you want. I just want to hear from you guys. And yet again, thank you so much for stopping by.